Director Denis Villeneuve burst onto the Hollywood scene in 2013 with two great thrillers, Prisoners and Enemy, both starring Jake Gyllenhaal. He's now 3 for 3 with his latest film, Sicario, which is easily one of the best films of the year and without question Villeneuve's finest film to date. The basic premise is that Emily Blunt plays an idealistic young FBI agent, and she's recruited by a shady government operative, played by Josh Brolin, to head over across the Mexican border and track down a drug kingpin. Blunt's character doesn't really know if everything is actually above board, and this feeling is only amplified with the arrival of a mysterious person who is apparently working on her side, played with great relish by Benicio del Toro. Now, it feels kind of weird to say this about a film I love so much, but the story is really the worst thing about Sicario. It's just this generic, capture the drug kingpin storyline, and the actual antagonist of the film doesn't really have much personality at all. That's actually not a problem though, because the film derives so much tension and suspense from the guys on the good side of the fence, and the potential dubious morality of what they're doing, that the film still has its share of compelling, not so good guys. Though the plot really is quite a bare bones affair, I don't think anyone can really fault the character work going on here, which allows the likes of Blunt, Brolin and Del Toro to pull off some really impressive performances. Villeneuve resists the temptation to make Blunt's character this token female in a man's world, and really her gender doesn't play into it much at all. Blunt is a likeable lead here, and again she proves how well she can function in the action arena, so hopefully she'll continue to pursue these challenging parts in the future. Josh Brolin, meanwhile, has pretty much made a career out of playing douchebags on the screen, so this isn't really a stretch for him here, but he knocks it out of the park anyway. Although, it has to be said, my favourite performance in this movie, by far, comes from Benicio del Toro. He plays a fascinating enigma of a character, and he defies expectations in several ways. But that's all I'm really going to say about that, because obviously we're getting into spoiler territory now. All of this is without even mentioning Villeneuve's direction, and he teams up with legendary cinematographer Roger Deakins to make every single frame of this film look like a beautiful painting. In the movie's third act, they experiment with thermal imaging technology to really trippy effect, and it creates this almost video game-esque style to it, and I mean that in a good way. It's practically a given that Deakins, who has never won an Oscar by the way, is going to receive his 13th nomination here, but sadly he is going to face very, very stiff competition from Emmanuel Lubezki for his work on The Revenant. Now, to get back to Villeneuve, there are two things he does really, really well in this movie, and the first is his consideration of violence. Now, this is a deeply, deeply unpleasant film with a very, very high body count, but never once does it feel flippant or just done for the sake of it. Nothing is disposable, and every death has this real weight to it. Secondly, he again reminds us just how much of a master of tension he is. There are numerous set pieces throughout this film, and each of them just gave me sweaty palms, and the last one in particular, I didn't even realise till afterwards, but my fist had been clenched just like really tight for about 10 minutes. Now, Sicario naturally isn't going to be for everyone. If you're looking for a straight-up action film, you might find it too slow-paced or too somber, and it's going to be way, way too dark for a lot of people. That said, if you're a fan of his previous work, you are probably going to enjoy this as a dark, gritty thriller. The film looks and sounds terrific, and the performances across the board are superb. And in fact, I'd like to mention Daniel Kaluuya, who plays Emily Blunt's rookie cop partner, who for some reason hasn't had any notices in any reviews I've seen, but he was terrific in this. Now, there is definitely one part of this film that didn't work for me, and that's a subplot involving Jon Bernthal's character. And I won't say any more than that, but it's just too contrived for a film that otherwise seems so tight and so sure of itself. But for 95% of its runtime, this is an incredibly taut and intense film. So, Sicario gets an 8 out of 10 from me, and I'd say so far it's my third favourite film of the year, behind, of course, number 1, Mad Max Fury Road, and number 2, Inside Out. That's my review, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I'll be here from dusk till Shaun.